Thompson, Miss Linda. Why do people think marriage will complete them? Why does it seem that there are so many unhappy marriages among Christians and non-Christians?
Linda was going to answer this question. Go ahead, babe.
Why do people think marriage will complete them? Because they don't see themselves as being complete in Christ. That's bottom line. Because if they don't feel like they were complete before they got married, they won't be complete after they got married, because the only way that you can feel complete is if you're complete in Christ, if you know that you're complete in Christ. And then why does it seem that there are so many unhappy marriages among Christians and non-Christians? Well, for Christians, because they've made a decision not to do the word toward each other. They've made a decision not to work at their marriage because it's a lot of work. Marriage takes a lot of work. But it's very rewarding work, just like anything that you do. I mean, you can go out and do something very physical, something that takes a lot of labor, but you have a lot of satisfaction when you see the completed process, or as the process goes. I mean, like we'll be married 35 years a week from Monday.
I was -10 when we got married.
He was -10 when we got married. Get that one.
I think I was 7 maybe.
But we work at our marriage all the time. And when we don't work at our marriage, we're not real happy in our marriage. When we work at our marriage, we're happy in our marriage. When we believe what the Word says about us, we're happy in our marriage. When we don't believe what the Word says about us, we're not happy in our marriage. I know that seems like so basic, but it's just the truth. It's just the way that it is. And as far as non-Christians, well, non-Christians don't have the Lord. And non-Christians can have a decent marriage too if they work at their marriage. Anything you want to add?
Yes, Professor. Every one of us are born missing something. And what we're missing is we're missing the Christ part of our life. When you get born again, every crevice of your life is filled in with God's existence. If you neglect that presence of God in your life, and if you don't cultivate that and nurture that presence in your life, what happens is that you, instead of filling the void of life, it actually becomes worse. And what you do is that the reason why people marry the wrong people is because they're expecting people to be able to fill the void which they've created within themselves. Now, inside that, there's, it's the reason why people can live so passionately. Because they want that passion or that fire for the moment. And what transpires with that, or what happens with all of that is that as you begin to be in a relationship with someone else, you can look to them to bring the fulfillment to you. And they do for a little while, until you discover that it was not them that was really bringing you the fulfillment. It was your confident expectation of relationship that was bringing you the fulfillment.
And you expect them to fulfill something emotionally that only God can, because Psalm 62:1 says, and I have to constantly remind myself of this, being married. That
I don't, because I really love my wife.
Because he's perfect. He is.
Just like
he
Lindsay,
does.
just like Lindsay said, perfect.
But it says, my soul finds rest in God alone. And so when I look at that verse, what encompasses my soul? My mind, my will, and my emotions. So my emotions find rest. They find their fulfillment only in God. The term there is an absolute term. It says, only in God does my mind, does my soul, do my emotions, do they find rest? And the more that I can continue to go back to that thought that Rob isn't going to fulfill something for me that only God can. Now, that
That's for
doesn't mean
sure.
that we don't enjoy each other and, you know, emotionally we have a bond and all of that kind of stuff, and we don't make each other feel good. We do make each other feel good. But ultimately, the only way that my emotions are fulfilled is in my relationship with God.
And I don't think that that can be stressed enough, because people want such instant gratification. They want relationship microwaved. And they come from families where they don't have such a depth of training that it becomes really difficult for people to believe what Linda is saying, because they don't come from a background that could ever prove that. They come from, if truth be told, there are many more sad days than glad days. There are many more difficult marriages than there are fulfilled marriages. I mean, if 54% of people get divorced, just remember, that means over half people get divorced. What about the other people that aren't fulfilled in their marriages? But that's because people are not supposed to be fulfilled in marriage. That's not why God created marriage. He created marriage to bring multiplication. Multiplication. See, when I realize that Linda's not there to make me feel good, that's not why she's there. She is there to be an extension of God's hand in my life. When I expect her to be something else, it's so funny to me when I hear what expectations people have of their spouses. I sit back and I go, huh? Then that means that you could be married to one person that you think, you know, is a boxhead, while you're married to another person that you think is Prince Charming. Why is one person Prince Charming and another person a boxhead? No. What it is that the difference is within you. One person realized, you know, they expected something from you that you couldn't give. And my spouse has been given to me by God to actually complete His actions in my life. And when I see her that way, I don't put expectations upon her that God never created her for. You know, so why do non-Christians have good marriages, or, you know, unhappy marriages or happy marriages? Because that's what they choose to do. If you chose that every time your spouse came before you, that it was a blessing for your life, that person was in your life, you'd never have another bad day in your life. And ladies, if you would come to a place where you would not be threatened by correction, but you would embrace it, you would find that correction wouldn't be correction at all. It would be the difference in between somebody telling you about how they didn't like, you know, or screaming at you that they didn't like your eggs, or at a place where they sat there and said, you know what, I'm so grateful to you because you're always so willing to be flexible. Because most people aren't flexible. That's why people are happy. That's why people are unhappy.